Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Life-Changing True Stories. Today, I bring you a powerful and deeply loving story. Sophia. Rivera adjusted the delicate strap of her emerald gown as she stepped into the grand ballroom of the Roosevelt Hotel. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across marble floors, and the air hummed with the chatter of Los Angeles's business elite. As the executive assistant to Damian Sterling, CEO of Sterling Enterprises, she had attended dozens of corporate events, but tonight felt different somehow. It's charged with an electricity she could not quite name. 27 years old and fiercely independent, Sophia had built her career on discipline and clear boundaries. Her grandmother, who had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when she was 12, had taught her that success came from hard work and maintaining proper distance from those in power. For 4 years, Sophia had been the perfect assistant, efficient, professional, and utterly unflappable. She knew Damian's schedule better than he did, anticipated his needs before he voiced them, and had earned the respect of everyone in the company. Tonight, however, something was shifting beneath the surface of her carefully constructed professional facade. Sophia scanned the crowd, her trained eye quickly locating her boss. Damian Sterling stood near the bar, surrounded by investors and board members. His tall frame commanding attention, even in a room full of powerful people. At 34, he possessed the kind of presence that made people stop and listen. Dark hair perfectly styled, strong jaw, and intense gray eyes that seemed to see through every pretense. He wore his custom-tailored black tuxedo with the ease of someone born to wealth. Though Sophia knew the truth was far more complicated, Damian had built Sterling Enterprises from nothing, transforming a failing tech startup into a billion-dollar empire through sheer determination and brilliant strategy. He worked 16-hour days, demanded excellence from everyone around him, carried the weight of 3,000 employees on his shoulders. Sophia had watched him weather crises that would have broken lesser men, always maintaining that cool, controlled exterior that both impressed and intimidated her. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and Sophia felt her breath catch. There was something different in his gaze tonight, a heat that sent warmth spreading through her chest. She looked away quickly, reminding herself of the rules she lived by. Damian Sterling was her employer, nothing more. The fact that her heart sometimes raced when he walked past her desk, or that she noticed the way his voice deepened when he was tired, meant absolutely nothing. The evening progressed with speeches and awards. Sophia mingled dutifully, making small talk with clients and partners, always keeping one eye on Damian in case he needed anything. Around 10 o'clock, she noticed him slip out onto the terrace, his shoulders tense with the stress he hid so well from others. Without thinking, she followed. The Los Angeles night air was cool and refreshing after the warmth of the ballroom. City lights sparkled in the distance like fallen stars. Damian stood at the railing, his back to her, hands gripping the stone balustrade. "You should be inside networking," Sophia said softly, approaching him. "That investor from Tokyo was looking for you." Damian turned, and in the moonlight, she saw exhaustion etched into his features. "I needed a moment away from all the performance," he admitted, his voice rougher than usual. "Sometimes I forget who I am underneath the CEO mask." It was the most vulnerable thing she had ever heard him say. In 4 years, Damian had never let his guard down like this. Sophia found herself moving closer, drawn by an instinct she did not fully understand. "You're more than the title," she said quietly. "You're the man who remembers every employee's name, who donated anonymously to rebuild the community center in Boyle Heights, who stayed all night helping me fix the presentation disaster before the Samsung meeting." Damian's eyes widened slightly. "You knew that donation was from me? I thought I'd been careful. I'm your assistant. It's my job to know everything." Sophia smiled, then added more softly, "You're a good man, Damian. Don't forget that when the pressure gets heavy..." Something shifted in the air between them. Damian stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Cedar and something spicy that made her pulse quicken. "Sophia," he said, her name sounding like a prayer on his lips. "Do you have any idea how hard it's been working beside you every day, pretending I don't feel what I feel?" Her heart hammered against her ribs. "Don't," she whispered, even as her body swayed toward his. "We can't. The rules, your position, my career. I know all the reasons why we shouldn't," Damian murmured, his hand rising to cup her cheek with surprising gentleness. I've listed them to myself 1,000 times. But right now, under these stars, with you looking at me like that, I can't remember why any of them matter." When his lips met hers, Sophia's carefully constructed world shattered. The kiss was tender at first, questioning, giving her the chance to pull away. Instead, she found herself pressing closer, her hands sliding up to grip his shoulders as the kiss deepened into something more urgent. More real than anything she had ever experienced, they broke apart, both breathing hard. Sophia's mind raced with conflicting emotions. "This is crazy," she said, though she made no move to step back. "Tomorrow morning, we'll regret this." "Maybe," Damien agreed, his thumb tracing her lower lip with heartbreaking tenderness. "Or maybe tomorrow morning, we'll finally stop lying to ourselves about what's been building between us since the day you walked into my office, wearing that awful gray suit and told me my filing system was a disaster." Despite everything, Sophia laughed, the sound breaking some of the tension. "That suit wasn't awful. It was professional. It was hideous." Damien countered with a smile that transformed his usually serious face. "But you were beautiful anyway, confident and brilliant and completely unimpressed by my reputation. I think I started falling for you right then." The confession hung in the air between them, loaded with possibilities and dangers. Sophia knew she should walk away, return to the ballroom, rebuild the professional walls that kept them both safe. Instead, when Damien offered his hand, she took it, letting him lead her away from the party, away from all the watching eyes and whispered judgments. They ended up at his penthouse in Century City, a sleek, modern space high above the city lights. The moment the door closed behind them, Sophia felt the full weight of what they were about to do crash over her. This would change everything. There would be no going back to the comfortable professional relationship they had built. "We don't have to do this," Damien said, reading her hesitation with the same intuition that made him such a successful businessman. "I can take you home right now. We'll forget tonight happened." But Sophia knew that was a lie. She would never forget the way he had looked at her on that terrace. The vulnerability he had shown, the confession that had tumbled from his lips. "I don't want to forget," she heard herself say. "For once in my life, I want to stop doing the sensible thing." What followed was a night that would be seared into her memory forever. Damien was tender and passionate, attentive and demanding, making her feel cherished in ways she had never experienced. They talked for hours between kisses, sharing stories and dreams they had never voiced to anyone else. He told her about the loneliness of success, how he sometimes felt like a stranger in his own life. She confessed her fears of never being enough, of always trying to prove herself worthy of the second chance her grandmother had given her. As dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Sophia lay in Damien's arms, feeling his heartbeat steady against her back. She should have felt peaceful, satisfied, happy. Instead, panic clawed at her chest as reality reasserted itself. What had she done? She had violated every principle she lived by. She had crossed the most fundamental line between employer and employee. She had put her career, her reputation, everything she had worked for at risk for one night of passion, no matter how perfect it had felt, carefully. Sophia extracted herself from Damien's embrace and gathered her close. In the growing light, she could see him clearly. His face relaxed in sleep, younger and more vulnerable than he ever appeared in the office. Her chest ached with an emotion she refused to name. This had been a mistake. A beautiful, terrible mistake that she had to fix before it destroyed everything. By the time Damien woke an hour later, Sophia was gone. In her place, she left a note written on hotel stationery, her handwriting neat despite her shaking hands. "Thank you for last night. It was wonderful, but it was also wrong. I'm going to submit my resignation this morning. This is the only way to protect both our reputations and your company. Please don't try to change my mind. This is what's best for everyone, Sophia." As she rode the elevator down from his penthouse, clutching her heels in one hand and blinking back tears, Sophia told herself she was doing the right thing, the professional thing, the smart thing. Then why did it feel like she was leaving her heart behind on the 45th floor? Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Sophia dressed in her most severe business suit, navy blue with sharp lines that felt like armor. She had spent the entire weekend rehearsing what she would say, how she would maintain her composure, How she would walk away from Damien Sterling with her dignity intact. Envelope containing her resignation letter felt like it. Weighed 1,000 pounds in her handbag. Sterling Enterprises occupied the top 15 floors of a gleaming tower in downtown Los Angeles. Sophia had always loved the morning commute, watching the city wake up, feeling like she was part of something important. Today, every familiar sight felt like a goodbye. She arrived at 7:30. Earlier than usual, hoping to leave the letter on Damien's desk before he arrived. But when the elevator doors opened on the executive floor, she found him already there, leaning against her desk with his arms crossed. Still wearing the same clothes from Friday night? Ah! You didn't go home, Sophia said, her carefully prepared speech evaporating. How could I? Damien's voice was rough, his gray eyes bloodshot, but blazing with intensity. You left me a note, Sophia. After everything we shared, after the way we connected, you left me a note and disappeared. Sophia forced herself to meet his gaze, to ignore the way her heart clenched at the pain she saw there. It was the right thing to do. What happened between us cannot happen again. I'm here to submit my resignation. She pulled the envelope from her bag and held it out, but Damien made no move to take it. No, he said simply. No. Sophia blinked in surprise. You can't refuse my resignation. That's not how this works. Watch me. Damien pushed away from the desk, moving into her personal space with that predatory grace that always made her pulse quicken. You think I'm going to let you walk away because you're scared? Because following your heart doesn't fit into your neat little rules. This isn't about fear, Sophia protested, though they both knew it was a lie. This is about ethics, about professionalism. You're my boss, Damien. There are power dynamics at play that make any relationship between us inherently problematic. Then I'll step down. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Sophia stared at him, certain she had misheard. You heard me? Damien's expression was deadly serious. If the problem is that I'm your boss, then I'll resign as CEO. The board has been pushing me to consider a coup anyway. I'll restructure, step back, make us equals. That's insane. Sophia's voice rose despite her attempts to stay calm. You built this company from nothing? Sterling Enterprises is your life's work. You can't just walk away from it. Why not? If it's a choice between the company and you, I choose you. The declaration should have made her happy. Instead, it terrified her. You're not thinking clearly. You had one glass of champagne too many at a party, and we made a mistake. That doesn't mean you should throw away everything you've worked for. Something dangerous flashed in Damien's eyes. A mistake? Is that really what you think Friday night was? Sophia wanted to say yes. Wanted to reduce those hours of passion and vulnerability to nothing more than an error in judgment. But the lie wouldn't come. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what's right, and running away is right, Damien challenged. Denying what we both felt is right? Tell me, Sophia, when you were in my arms, when I was inside you, and you were calling my name, did that feel wrong? Heat flooded Sophia's cheeks. Stop it. No. He moved even closer, until she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. I spent 4 years pretending I didn't want you. For years telling myself that professionalism mattered more than this pull between us. And you know what? I was miserable. Every day watching you, wanting you, knowing I couldn't have you. Friday night, I finally felt alive again. Damien, please. Sophia's voice cracked, her careful control fracturing. You're making this impossible. Good. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. I don't want to make it easy for you to leave me. I don't want you to walk away from something that could be extraordinary because you're afraid of what people might think. It's not just about what people think, Sophia whispered. It's about who I am. My grandmother raised me to have principles, to never compromise my integrity. She worked 3 jobs to put me through college, and she made me promise I would never trade on anything but my own merit. And do you think being with me would compromise that? Damien's voice softened. Sophia, you earned your position here through talent and hard work. Everyone in this company knows that. Being with me doesn't change what you've accomplished. Can't guarantee that. Sophia pulled back, needing distance to think clearly. The moment our relationship becomes public, every achievement I've earned will be questioned. People will say, I slept my way to the top. They'll say you gave me special treatment. Everything I've built will be tainted." Damien was silent for a long moment, and Sophia could see him processing her words. Understanding finally dawning in his eyes. "That's what you're really afraid of. Not what I might think, but what the world will think." "I've worked too hard to have my reputation destroyed," Sophia said quietly. "I can't be the woman who threw away her principles for a man. No matter how much I might feel for him." The admission slipped out before she could stop it, and she saw Damien's expression transform. "How much you feel for me," he repeated slowly. "So you do feel something." Sophia closed her eyes, cursing her unguarded moment. "It doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters." Damien's voice was intense, urgent. "Sophia, look at me." She opened her eyes to find him gazing at her with such raw emotion that it stole her breath. "I'm not asking you to throw away your principles," he said. "I'm asking you to consider that maybe, just maybe, love is worth fighting for. That sometimes the right thing isn't the safe thing." "I don't know if I'm brave enough for that," Sophia whispered. Before Damien could respond, the elevator chimed. They sprang apart as Victoria Hayes, the company's chief operating officer, stepped out. She was a sharp woman in her 50s, known for her no-nonsense approach and keen political instincts. Her eyes flickered between them, missing nothing. "Good morning," Victoria said, her tone neutral, but her gaze assessing. "Damien, the board wants to meet with you this afternoon." "Something about the quarterly reports." "Fine," Damien said curtly. "Schedule it." Victoria nodded and continued to her office, but Sophia could feel the weight of her scrutiny even after she disappeared. This was exactly what she had feared. People would notice. They would talk. The carefully professional relationship she and Damien had maintained for 4 years was already beginning to crack, and the consequences would only grow worse. The rest of the day passed in agonizing tension. Sophia threw herself into work, processing emails and managing Damien's schedule with mechanical efficiency. But she couldn't stop thinking about his words, about the choice he had laid before her. That evening, as she was preparing to leave, Damien appeared in her doorway. "There's a problem with the Henderson account," he said, his tone purely professional. "I need you to come with me to San Diego tomorrow. We'll need to meet with their team in person." Sophia's first instinct was to refuse to put distance between them. But Henderson was their third largest client, and if there was truly a problem, she couldn't let personal complications interfere with business. "What time is the flight?" she asked. 6 a.m. I'll have a car pick you up at 4:30. The trip to San Diego should have been routine. They had traveled together dozens of times before, always maintaining perfect professionalism. But now everything felt different. In the private jet, sitting across from each other reviewing documents, Sophia was hyper-aware of every gesture, every glance. The meeting with Henderson's team lasted 6 hours. Intense negotiations over contract terms that required all of Sophia's concentration. She was grateful for the distraction, for the chance to remember why she was good at her job. By the time they finished, both she and Damien were exhausted. "We should head back," Sophia said, gathering her materials. "Actually, there's been a development," Damien said, checking his phone. "Storm system moving in. Our pilot says we're grounded until tomorrow morning at the earliest." Sophia's stomach dropped. "We're stuck here?" "Afraid so?" Damien's expression was unreadable. "I've booked us rooms at the Fairmont. We can get dinner and rest, then fly back first thing." The hotel was luxurious, perched on a cliff overlooking the Pacific. Sophia tried to focus on the beauty of the sunset, the elegant lobby, anything but the fact that she would be spending the night in the same hotel as Damien, with no work buffer between them. "I'm going to change and grab dinner," Damien said as they collected their room keys. "Join me if you want. No pressure." In her room, Sophia stood at the window watching waves crash against the rocks below. She should order room service, stay safely away from temptation. But her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. Not the stern lessons about propriety, but something she had said near the end. When cancer was stealing her away, "Sophia, Mia, I taught you to be strong, to be careful. But don't let those lessons make you afraid to live. Sometimes the bravest thing is letting yourself be vulnerable." Sophia closed her eyes, feeling tears slip down her cheeks. She had been so focused on protecting herself that she had forgotten how to take risks. How to reach for something beautiful even if it might hurt 30 minutes later. She knocked on Damien's door. He answered in jeans and a soft gray sweater that made his eyes look like storm clouds. Surprise and hope ward on his face.
Melee, 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 melee.
Surprise and surprise and surprise and hope and surprise and hope, or I'm so ready to be, I'm not, I'm so ride, or what, all wide, I'm all right, I'm wide, I'm all I'm rhyme, I'm ad ride, I'm to buy, I'm bride to rhyme, I'm rhyme, I'm by I'm so but I'm tired of running. Maybe we can just have dinner and talk. Really talk, not as boss and assistant, but as two people trying to figure out if this thing between us is real. Damien's smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. I would like nothing more. They found a quiet restaurant on the pier, where the sound of waves provided a soothing backdrop. Over fresh seafood and California wine, they talked for hours. Damien told her about growing up poor in Minnesota, about his alcoholic father and the mother who left when he was 10. He spoke about the chip on his shoulder that had driven him to succeed, and the loneliness that came with achievement. Sophia shared memories of her grandmother, the fierce love and impossible standards that had shaped her. She talked about the guilt she still carried over her parents' death, how she had been fighting with her mother about something trivial right before the accident, how she had spent years trying to be perfect, as if that could somehow make up for surviving when they didn't. You can't live your whole life trying to earn the right to be alive, Damien said gently, reaching across the table to take her hand. Your grandmother gave you her love freely. She wouldn't want you to turn it into a cage. The insight cracked something open in Sophia's chest. They walked along the beach afterward, shoes in hand, letting the cold Pacific water rush over their feet. When Damien pulled her close, she didn't resist. When he kissed her under the stars, she kissed him back with all the longing she had been suppressing. That night, back in his hotel room, they made love slowly, tenderly, taking time to explore and savor. It was different from Friday night's passionate urgency. This felt like a promise, like the beginning of something real. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Sophia finally let herself say the words that terrified her. I'm falling in love with you. Damien's hold tightened. I'm already there. Have been for a long time. For a few perfect hours. Sophia let herself believe that love might be enough, that they could find a way to make this work, despite all the complications. But morning brought reality crashing back in the form of Damien's phone ringing. With an urgent call from Victoria, we have a situation, she said, her voice tight. Someone leaked information about you and Sophia to the press. There are photographers camped outside the office, and the board is demanding an emergency meeting. The flight back to Los Angeles felt like flying into a storm. Sophia sat rigid in her seat, checking her phone compulsively as text messages and emails flooded in. The tabloid photos were everywhere, her leaving Damien's penthouse Friday night. The two of them boarding the private jet to San Diego, a particularly damning shot of them kissing on the beach. The headlines were brutal. Sterling CEO in scandalous affair with secretary. Billionaire boss, caught in ethics violation. Assistant sleeps her way to the top. Each one felt like a knife between her ribs. This was exactly what she had feared, her worst nightmare coming true in high definition and shared across social media.
Now we'll handle this,
Damien said, his jaw tight with anger. My legal team is already preparing responses. We'll sue for invasion of privacy. That will only make it worse, Sophia said dully. Fighting it makes us look guilty. Suing makes it a bigger story. So what do you suggest? We just let them tear you apart? Sophia looked at him, really looked at him. She could see the fury in his eyes, the protective instinct warring with helplessness. He wanted to fix this, to use his power and resources to make the problem disappear. But some things couldn't be fixed with money or lawyers. I need to resign, she said quietly. Today, before the board meeting, a clean break is the only way to salvage your reputation. Absolutely not. Damien's voice was steel. I'm not letting you fall on your sword for me. It's not for you, Sophia replied, though they both knew that was only partially true. It's for me too. I can't work there now, Damien. Every day would be torture, everyone whispering, judging. I need to leave with whatever dignity I have left. The car dropped them at Sterling Tower, where a mob of reporters waited. Camera flashes exploded as they pushed through the crowd, security guards clearing a path. Questions were shouted from every direction. Ms. Rivera, did you pursue Mr. Sterling for his money? Mr. Sterling? Are there other employees you've had inappropriate relationships with? How long has this affair been going on? They made it to the elevator without responding, but Sophia felt violated by the scrutiny, by the assumptions and accusations. In the safety of the executive floor, she turned to Damien. I'm going to pack my desk. The board meeting is at 2. I'll submit my resignation before then. Sophia, please. For the first time since she'd met him, Damien looked truly desperate. Don't let them win. Don't let fear make this decision. I'm not. She touched his face gently, memorizing the feel of his skin under her fingers. I'm choosing self-preservation. Sometimes retreat is the bravest option. The next hour passed in a blur. Sophia packed 4 years of her professional life into boxes, each item a memory. The coffee mug Damien had given her after she organized the merger with Tecton, the plant she had nursed back to health on her desk. The photo of her grandmother she kept in her drawer. Colleagues stopped by, some offering sympathy, others barely concealing their judgment. Jessica from accounting made a snide comment about lucky opportunities. Marcus from legal actually asked if she had any tips for seducing the boss. Sophia maintained her composure through it all, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. At 1:30, she carried her letter of resignation to the boardroom where Damien was meeting with the 12 board members. She knocked once and entered without waiting for permission. The room fell silent. 12 powerful faces turned to stare at her, their expressions ranging from curiosity to disgust. Damien stood at the head of the table, and the anguish in his eyes almost made her turn around. Excuse the interruption, Sophia said, her voice clear and steady. I wanted to deliver this in person. She walked to the head of the table and placed the envelope in front of Damien, then turned to address the board. For the past 4 years, I have been proud to work for Sterling Enterprises. I have given this company my best efforts, my loyalty, and my integrity. But I understand that recent events have created an untenable situation. Therefore, I am resigning effective immediately. Ms. Rivera, one of the board members, an older man named Robert Chen, spoke up. Before you go, I think we deserve some answers. How long have you been manipulating Mr. Sterling? The accusation stung, but Sophia kept her head high. I have never manipulated anyone. Whatever relationship developed between Mr. Sterling and myself was mutual and consensual. It was also a mistaken judgment that I deeply regret. A mistake that lasted how long? Another board member pressed. Months? Years? That's enough, Damien said, his voice cutting through the interrogation. You will not speak to her that way. Damien, we need to understand the extent of the situation, Victoria said, her tone more measured but no less pointed. Has Ms. Rivera received preferential treatment? Are there business decisions that need to be reviewed? Every decision I've made has been in the best interest of this company, Damien said coldly. Sophia's performance reviews speak for themselves. She has been the most dedicated, competent assistant I've ever had. The only mistake either of us made was caring about each other. Caring. Robert Chen scoffed. That's a nice way to describe an affair. It's not an affair, Damien said, and Sophia's heart clenched at the use of present tense. It's a relationship. One that should never have been anyone's business but ours. When it affects this company's reputation, it becomes our business, Victoria countered. Damien, you know I respect you, but this is serious. We have shareholders to answer to, clients who are questioning our ethics. Something has to be done. I agree, Damien said, and Sophia felt ice water flood her veins, which is why I'm also resigning. The room erupted. Board members spoke over each other, voices raised in shock and protest. Sophia stood frozen, unable to process what she'd just heard. You can't resign, Robert Chen said. You're the founder. This is your company. Which is why I can do whatever I want with it, Damien replied calmly. I'm stepping down as CEO, effective in 30 days. That should give you time to find a replacement or promote from within. I'll retain my position on the board and my stock, but I will no longer be involved in day-to-day operations. This is insane, Victoria said. You're throwing away everything you built for a woman you barely know. I know her better than I know myself, Damien said quietly, his eyes finding Sophia's across the room. And she's worth more than any title or company. Damien, no, Sophia finally found her voice. You can't do this. I won't let you. It's already done. He smiled at her, and in that smile was everything they hadn't said to each other. I'm tired of building empires, Sophia. I want to build a life. The board meeting dissolved into chaos after that. Legal counsel was summoned. Phone calls were made. Sophia slipped out during the commotion, her head spinning. This wasn't supposed to happen. She had resigned to protect him. Instead, he had blown up his entire career. She was in the parking garage, throwing boxes into her car, when Damien found her. Running away again? He asked gently. Shouldn't have done that, Sophia said, slamming her trunk harder than necessary. That company is everything to you. No, Damien corrected, walking toward her. It was everything when I had nothing else. But now I have something more important. You don't have me, Sophia protested, though her conviction was crumbling. We've known each other for years, but we've been together for less than a week. You can't rebuild your entire life around someone based on a few days. You're right, Damien agreed, surprising her. I can't build my life around you, but I can build it with you if you'll let me. Sophia leaned against her car, suddenly exhausted. I don't know how to do this. Everything I've planned, everything I've worked for, it's all falling apart. Or maybe it's making room for something better. Damien stepped closer, his hands coming to rest on either side of her, caging her gently against the car. Sophia, I spent 10 years chasing success because I thought it would fill the emptiness inside me. It didn't. The only time I've felt truly happy, truly alive, is when I'm with you. What if it doesn't work? Sophia whispered, voicing her deepest fear. What if we try this and it falls apart? We'll have destroyed our careers for nothing, and we'll have tried, Damien said simply. We'll have been brave enough to reach for something real. Isn't that better than spending the rest of our lives wondering what if? Sophia thought about her grandmother, about the woman who had risked everything to give her a better life, about the courage it took to love someone fully, knowing they might leave, about the difference between existing and living. I'm terrified, she admitted. Me too, Damien said, his forehead resting against hers. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. And somehow, in that moment, Sophia's decision crystallized. She had spent her whole life being careful, being proper, doing what was expected. Maybe it was time to do what felt right instead. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Damien pulled back to look at her, hope blazing in his gray eyes. Okay, Sophia repeated. Stronger now. Let's try this. Let's be brave enough to see where this goes. Damien's kiss was fierce and tender all at once, a promise and a celebration. When they finally broke apart, both were grinning like fools. So what now? Sophia asked. We're both unemployed. Now, Damien said, lacing his fingers through hers, we figure out what we actually want to do with our lives. Together. Over the following weeks, the media frenzy gradually died down. Without the scandal of a CEO and his employee, the story lost its juice. Damien negotiated a generous severance package for Sophia, despite her protests, and began mentoring his replacement at Sterling Enterprises. But more importantly, they began building something new. Damien discovered a passion for angel investing, particularly in startups run by people from disadvantaged backgrounds. Sophia started consulting, helping small businesses improve their operations. They were both surprised to discover that life outside the corporate pressure cooker could actually be fulfilling. 6 months after that fateful board meeting, they stood on a beach in Big Sur, watching the sunset paint the sky in impossible colors. Damien turned to Sophia, taking her hands in his. I never thanked you, he said. For what? For being brave enough to let me in? For taking a chance on us, even when everything was falling apart? Sophia smiled, reaching up to touch his face. You gave up your company for me? I think that required a bit more bravery. No, Damien said seriously. Leaving the company was easy. It was just a job. What took real courage was admitting I needed someone, that I couldn't do everything alone. You taught me that. We taught each other, Sophia corrected. You showed me that sometimes the right choice is the scary one. That love is worth fighting for, even when the world says it's wrong. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in shades of gold and crimson, Damien pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple platinum band with a single perfect diamond. Oh, I know it's only been 6 months, he said. and I know we've already moved fast enough to break several sound barriers. But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Not because you're my assistant, not because of any title or role, but because you're my best friend, my partner, the person who makes me want to be better. Sofia Rivera, will you marry me? Sofia looked at the ring, at the man offering it, at the life stretching out before them, full of possibilities and uncertainties. She thought about all the rules she had broken, all the fears she had conquered, all the times she had chosen love over safety. Yes, she said, laughing as tears streamed down her face. Yes, absolutely yes. As Damien slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, Sofia realized something profound. She had spent years building a career, protecting her reputation, doing everything right. But it wasn't until she risked everything for love that she finally felt truly successful. Because in the end, the boldest choice she ever made wasn't quitting her job or defying expectations. It was opening her heart to someone and trusting that, together, they could build something more valuable than any empire. It was choosing to live instead of just exist. And as the stars began to emerge overhead, and the waves whispered their eternal song, Sofia knew with absolute certainty that she had made the right choice. Sometimes the path to happiness required burning down everything you thought you needed. Sometimes love demanded courage more than caution. And sometimes the greatest success wasn't measured in titles or bank accounts, but in the warmth of the hand holding yours and the promise of tomorrow's adventures. Sofia had learned that lesson the hard way. But standing there on that beach with Damien, planning a future that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure, she wouldn't have changed a single moment of their chaotic, beautiful story. After all, the best love stories were never the safe ones. Thank you for taking that time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to click like. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.